No major decisions I really regret. You're not living in regret. Looking back, it hurts your neck.
Hello everybody and welcome back to our talk show. Today is a very special episode because we are interacting with you a little bit more and we are answering your questions that you asked throughout the last couple episodes. And yeah, we're going to be kicking off today with some questions. I'll be asking them away to Steven and he'll be giving you some more insight.
All right, so we're on episode 5 of our series here. And like Brandon said today, we're going to be answering some of the questions that we've gotten from you guys. And Brandon's going to lead us through those and I'm going to give some answers. I haven't seen any of these questions, so I'm really curious to see what exactly is coming through and what I'm going to be talking about. And then Brandon might expand on those a bit more. So let's jump right into them.
All right, so I got them all in a little list here on my phone. I just put them all in one place. So we got a question here. It says, we kind of talked about this on, I think it was the first episode of our talk show. We mentioned this, but maybe just touch on it again because some people might have not watched that. Sure. So this question is, what made you decide to start a DJ and sound service?
All right, so starting a DJ and sound service, a big part of the initial inspiration to start doing this, like I mentioned in the first episode with live sound, it was a very natural progression in regards to getting into sound, mainly because I was in the music scene and involved with others, and it was a component that accompanied the music I was doing more so at the time very well. Ended up doing it for a lot of other people. So there's a natural progression of leaning towards the technical component of the music industry. And so I started doing more of that. And as I started to do more events and seeing that there was more of a need, expanding on that and being able to meet the needs of several people and committees in the community was something that I really enjoyed doing. So getting into live sound, it was filling a void that wasn't being filled before and ensuring that it was being filled quite properly. And on the DJ side of things, that came right along with the live sound. Doing wedding ceremonies was kind of the first component that I was doing. And seeing that, individuals and couples would be having their wedding socials and wedding receptions, we would be asked if we provide music for those occasions as well. So we started providing a DJ service, and we mentioned John Santoris came on board with that. And so it's just a very natural progression. And as things developed and progressed, we saw that there were needs and we wanted to meet them and serve everyone to the best of our ability.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. And we got
Is that good enough for you, Brandon?
What?
Is that good enough for you?
Yeah, that's perfect. Perfect answer.
Awesome.
So the next question here is kind of an interesting one. It's which of the services you provide do you use the most? Would you say?
All right. What service? So it's definitely between live sound and our DJ service.
Mm-hmm.
So here's how I'll answer this. We definitely, the number of events that we do with live sound and DJ service are probably quite on par, especially during the summer months. And that's in Kenora and surrounding areas. That's kind of the big time. Everybody's getting married, and that's when most events are happening because a lot of events here are based outdoors. So in the summer months, it's quite even. However, if you look at the number of hours involved in the events that are live sound compared to DJ services, we definitely spend a lot more of our time doing live sound, mainly because there is a larger setup time. The event times typically run longer. A lot are full day events or multiple days. And then the teardown is obviously a lot more as well. And with all of that comes longer prep time and such. So in regards to hours that we spend on a service, live sound is our busiest definitely during the summer months. And our DJ service in regards to hours is less. But together we have a pretty equal balance in regards to those two being our top two leading services.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good answer, by the way. This next question is very interesting as well. I'm actually kind of curious about this myself. So knowing what you know now, what's something you wish you had known at the start? So something that maybe a piece of advice or something that you could give your former self on what not to do, maybe what to do, or maybe even for like someone who's starting a business currently, what's a piece of advice you would give them for just starting out?
Absolutely. So, I mean, being an entrepreneur, the one thing that you do every single day, every hour, every minute, is you're making decisions, and the wisest decisions that you can make based on the information that you have at the time of making that decision. So, for me to say, to go back 3 years and say, I wish I made this choice because of this, this, and this. At the time, it's not a decision I would regret by any means, because I'm taking all the information I have in that current moment and applying it to that decision. And in that particular moment, I believed it was the absolute best decision. Looking back over the number of years here, there hasn't been a decision that really was something that I wish I did differently. One thing that I did do, which wasn't it worked out being just fine, but like something, when you're buying a trailer, buy a big one.
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah.
So don't, like, I started with a smaller trailer, had that for a little while, and then went to the much larger one. So depending on your course of action and where you see things growing, making sure that you're buying things that you can kind of suit into, right? So what I had worked well for quite a while, and then there was a need, and the shift of direction changed with the company as a whole in terms of how large I was wanting to go with it. But at the time when I made the decision to get a smaller trailer, that wasn't quite in the picture. I knew kind of where I wanted to be. That kind of vision changed over those couple of years, and then we went there. So no major decisions I really regret, but I definitely encourage everyone, and like Brandon, like you mentioned, starting a business. The key thing is that you're not living in regret and dwelling, looking back. It hurts your neck, right? So you focus on the here and now, and what you're wanting to go through forward. Certainly reflect and see what may have gone not as planned, and whatever that looks like, and kind of shape that and remember that for the future. But the key is looking at your current situation, seeing what variables are in place, and making the best decision you can with the information that you have in front of you. So that's definitely a piece of advice I pass along.
Yeah, and that's how growth comes too. Like it's really through experience. Like you really have to kind of figure out things for yourself, because without the mistakes and without the trials you go through, you're really not going to learn. Like no one's going to have, a lot of people when they start a business, they think they have to have all the boxes checked off. They have to know all the answers. But in reality, you figure that out as you go. And you make mistakes and you learn from your mistakes, and that's how growth happens.
100%. Yeah. Learning and just being self-aware is a huge component.
Yeah.
Being self-aware, being true to yourself, don't lie to yourself. Just be honest. And the results will follow. You just be honest with yourself, and appreciate what you do and how you want to move forward. The key is just being really honest and just focused. There's a lot of different attributes that go into that, but that's a neat question. I like that. That's cool.
So moving on here, what's something in our area you wish or hope I'm gonna rephrase that. What's something in our area you wish or hope that you could be a part of, like maybe an event or a place that you could be involved with? So what's maybe an event or a place that you wish you could be involved with and working with in Kenora here?
All right. So I'm going to take that kind of broader, beyond Kenora.
Yeah.
Because looking at Wolfe Sound and Music over the years, we've really met the need of almost every single live sound and DJ event in Kenora. And if there was an event that happened without us, it's something that either the committee or individual thought that they best off stick with somebody else, or somebody they know a bit better, a good old friend from back in the day that does DJing now. So, but in regards to Kenora, I think like we've certainly been able to work with so many amazing people. And so there isn't a lot more in Kenora that we really, when you look at the grand scheme of things, the number of events in the summers, we're involved in almost every event. We're very thankful for all those opportunities. But where I kind of take this question is we recently started doing live sound support and stage lighting for an event in Dryden called Rhythm on the Range. And last year, 2019, was their first year hosting this event, and they did a brilliant job with it. And being in Dryden and just integrating with the community there, it was a blast. So, I mean, doing more events and meeting the needs of the Northwestern Ontario region is a big part of our future mission, and even what we're working on right now is focusing on how we can meet the needs of the people in, Sioux Lookout, Red Lake, Dryden, Fort Francis, just kind of this pocket of Northwestern Ontario that doesn't necessarily have the extent of this service right in their communities. And we're all in Northwestern Ontario. We're all in the same boat. We all experience it. And right now, Northwestern Ontario is probably feeling closer than ever. So with what's going on. So we certainly know that we're all in it together. And so I think just the being involved more in other communities, and that's something else that comes with time and that bit of growth. And we're just super thankful for everything that we've been a part of thus far, and can't wait for what lies ahead.
Mm-hmm. Was age ever a factor to you? So like, early on, I'm talking about early on here now.
Yeah.
Early on, was there ever a point where you were like, no, I'm going to wait a couple years and wait till I'm a little bit older? Because you started pretty young. Like you were doing, obviously, your music pretty
That's
early
right.
on. Was there a point where you were like, I should just wait a couple years or something like that? Was there any moment like that?
Nope. It was
Nope.
always right now.
Yeah.
And it was just, if there was something that needed to get done, something that, anything that needed to happen, we make it happen. And I wasn't one to sit and wait. There's certainly the difference. There's a difference in that, and then saying there's long-term goals and short-term goals. The key is being, patient in the long term and fast in the short, right? So just getting everything done in the short term that needs to be done. But at the end of the day, patience is a great virtue to have. And it really enables a stress-free growth pattern, because you know that you can't conquer the world tomorrow, but you can have long-term goals and be patient through that, knowing that they're going to take time, but in the short term have the motivation and the speed to just get it done and really just make it happen. So that's always been something for me: long-term patience, short-term speed.
Mm-hmm. Actually, that's kind of interesting. That kind of leads into the next question here. The next question is there any location that you were incapable of setting up at? Or maybe not incapable. The question says incapable, but maybe a setup that's more difficult than others. I'll phrase it that way.
All right, I gotcha. So, no.
No.
To answer that shortly. But to expand on that a bit, something that we do, if we're not familiar with a venue or a location, or we've never been there, our first mission is to meet with the client, whether they've confirmed their booking with us already, or if we're just in the planning process and in conversation. A prime example of that is, that's funny you mentioned that, because we were at a boat launch here that took us to an island on Lake of the Woods that I've mentioned in previous videos, Mackey's Island, and we did a wedding there. I've never been on Mackey's Island. This was someone's personal property. I don't go wandering around on people's personal property in my spare time. So we went out there on a boat ride, and I just met with them and checked out their place, got a lay of the land, made sure we had, when we're packing cabling and everything else, we got to see where our power sources are, make sure we have everything that we need to get to where we need to go. So a venue that we haven't been at, we certainly take the time to go there and get familiar with the space, ask the questions that we need to ask, and it's our experience that has led us to the opportunity of knowing what to ask and how to ask it. So so with that being said, doing all the due diligence, doing all the proper prep work, it enables you to accomplish a lot more and extremely effectively with minimal hiccups. So never a time where we've been incapable, because we've always been very well prepared leading into any event.
Yeah. And actually maybe talk about transportation a bit, because like last episode, we talked a bit about your trailers and stuff like that. But for water, we live right on the lake here in the surrounding area here. For like stuff out on the lake, not just Lake of the Woods specifically, but on lakes in general, what's your process behind like what if someone doesn't have a proper boat to take it out on, like all your equipment? Like how do you really transport on water effectively?
For sure. So I think every event that we've done on the lake, a lot of couples don't necessarily have a pontoon boat. Is really what we want to haul our equipment with the amount of weight that we're hauling out there. for mainly DJ setups. If it's a live sound setup, might involve a couple of trips depending on the weight that we're bringing out there. But for weddings and DJ service applications, anytime that there's an event on an island, typically the couple will hire a local shuttle service. So the two, there's a couple main shuttle services that are used by couples in Kenora, and both of them have pontoon boats. Two Bears here, Two Bears Marina is the one that we use for the wedding on Mackey's Island. And so they have a pontoon boat here, and we were able to load up at their docks, get everything on there and out to the island. So it's always good to have a flat surface, but we've never had to do anything other than that. Most times if they have a different style of boat, then they're usually having a shuttle that is typically a pontoon boat because they carry the most people. So yeah, so pretty easy getting around. We love pontoon boats, that's for sure.
All right, so we got our last question here, and this question says, what got you into music? But I might add on to that question a little bit and say, how did you transition from music to live sound? Because like music, it's a really big art form. Like with music, you're creating, you're performing and stuff like that. So how did you make that transition from music into your business?
As I've mentioned so much, music and live sound is extremely integrated. There are two very critical components of a performance. If you go to a performance and you have extremely great musicians but terrible live sound, it's not going to be that enjoyable. And very much so the other way around too. You could have great live sound and terrible musicians, it's just not going to be good. So the key is, and this is a fantastic question. I love this so much because it really ties into everything. It's like an art form, right? So live sound, there's a scientific component, but there's also the artistic. So there's textbook stuff, there's textbook rules that we know, and we all know it, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's always the best application for every single space. So it's working within the spaces you're in, and kind of taking the sound and treating it as an artist would with a paintbrush. Really, how can you paint that canvas? How can you create that sound for people to hear that is really pleasing to the ear, similar to how an artist would want to paint something that is pleasing to the eye. So I would say that the transition, there really wasn't one. It happened they were so integrated that it just happened. But in everything, it's the art component. And I'm going to expand on this a bit more.
Yeah, sure.
Because even looking at our DJ service, something that John Santoris is really well known for, and we get anytime he's out on a gig, we always get compliments of how he's able to read a crowd. And that is a true talent and a true art, is to be able to see how people are interacting, knowing what type of music you're playing, not only like the beat, the style, even the key of the song, how that can affect people's reaction to the music that they're hearing. So a really big part of our DJ services is looking at the 150 people, seeing who's engaged, who isn't. You almost will never please everybody. There's a few hit tunes like Sweet Caroline,
yeah,
and a couple others that everybody gets down to.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's always watching the crowd and seeing what engages people, what people are not quite engaged but are on the fence, and how you can read that situation and make artistic choices in regards to what song is coming next to help foster that atmosphere and that whole attitude of the party. So that's similar, like a live sound, our DJ service. We talk about our photo booth, like the prints, like when you're printing, pictures, what's on the background? How are people remembering the event? Their pictures are on there. That's great and all, but how are you embracing what is happening at that event? If it's a cowboy themed wedding social, like the one we were supposed to have this weekend, all country, we want to make sure there's hay bales in the background and kind of like a barn rustic look. That's the kind of thing you want to foster to really get the energy out of those photos when people look at them in 10 years. So I'd say every component all of our services certainly have a major artistic component. So at Wolfe Sound and Music, we've always been very focused on there's a practical component and an artistic. And this stretches straight across all of our install services too. because you're looking at spaces and you're looking at sound, lighting, video, and how those integrate with the spaces. And it's always an art form. There's certainly the practical and the art that plays into it.
Fantastic answer. Wow. So anyway, that's all the questions that we have for today. Thank you guys for asking questions. Please leave more. Whatever you're watching on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, please leave questions down below. Steven will be posting stuff on his social medias. I'm sure in the future for questionnaires and stuff like that. So please keep asking us questions and we'll keep answering them in future episodes.
Thank you so much, everyone. That was a lot of fun. I'm really curious as to who sent in these questions. Now Brandon might show me. But yeah, these are really great questions and it was really fun answering them. Please leave questions below. We want to get to know you better and what you're interested in and curious about. And we'd certainly love to answer those questions for you. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and we will talk to you soon.